The global geopolitical chessboard is already open for the hot phase of the Third World War. After the bankers conduct a swift, controlled demolition of the global economic and financial system, everything will begin. Why do all these influential structures want war? Because there is no other way out of their unstable situation. Only by initiating a full-scale scenario of the Third World War can they continue to exist and even thrive. Plus, let's look back. It's no secret to anyone that the Rothschilds planned 3 world wars. The first 2 world wars allowed them to achieve their goals of weakening competitors and using 70% of the gold mined by humanity to back the dollars they issue, turning them into the planet's main money, as well as converting them into an international reserve currency. Third World War is planned to eliminate the remaining enemies, to conquer global power, and create a world government. This may seem unbelievable in the 21st century. However, all indications point to such a development. So what are the prerequisites for unleashing the Third World War? That's exactly what today's video is about. The Nuremberg trials judged German war criminals. But were the families of the Rothschild, Fords, Morgans, and other oligarchs who armed and directed these criminals to destroy millions of people ever convicted? No one. The oligarchs achieved their goal, obtained gold, expanded their power, and remained in the shadows, behind the scenes, as long as the criminals organizing world wars are not convicted. The world will constantly be under threat of self-destruction. Moreover, this threat, with the advancement of science and technology, is exponentially increasing and becoming unavoidable for humanity as a species. This threat, in line with the development of science and technology, is increasing exponentially and becoming inevitable for humanity as a species. Today, there is no need to hang or shoot members of these families. It is enough to extract the sting, nationalize all their property, and carry out the demonopolization of the mass media. The U.S. government should put its central bank, the Federal Reserve, under control. Political parties should attract financial resources for elections only in the form of donations from individuals and not exceeding a specified maximum. The roots of bloodthirstiness and inhumane banking allegory lie in their ideology and Satanism. Events and articles about the First and Second World Wars have shown an astonishing fact. Most people still believe that wars arise on their own, or that Hitler planned to seize power in Europe. But hardly anything is said about who put Hitler in power and what he was actually carrying out. The main leaders always remain in the shadows. Why do people still not know who organized and financed the First and Second World Wars? It seems that documents and evidence have been available on the internet for a long time. The topic has been discussed for a very long time, yet most still do not understand. In reality, no war has ever ceased during all this time. Ideas can be more destructive than atomic weapons. They allow the destruction of states and millions of people through alcohol, drugs, and diseases. Civil wars make life meaningless. It is becoming clear today that without the money provided on Wall Street, there would have been no Hitler or World War II. So, who should have been in the dock at Nuremberg? So who was supposed to be in the dock at Nuremberg? The military or those who created politicians, military personnel, and directed them to war? The main organizers who were never convicted should have been sitting in the dock. Economics professor Valentin Yuryevich Katasanov talks about how the Third World War will help erase the debts of the U.S. But those who know a little more understand that this can easily be done by issuing new dollars, paying off all debts. The question is, do the banking oligarchs need to repay the debts? No. The banksters themselves have issued so many dollars personally that they can pay off the U.S. debt twice over. They don't need money. They produce money for themselves in any quantity. They have set different goals. Even in Germany, they have long realized that the US is organizing a third world war and have already begun to transfer the war to Europe. Their main task is to create a new world with a world government on the ashes of their destroyed enemies, where bankers will secretly control politicians, just as the Federal Reserve controls us politicians today. All Federal Reserve banks were screens for the banking column of the Rothschilds. Today, many already say that we are being deliberately drawn into the hot stage of the Third World War. But even the global elites have their own problems. The most unstable aspect of their house of cards is the constantly crumbling global economic and financial system. Those who do not recognize this long-standing racket as a global casino, where the casino always wins, do not understand what is happening. When all major institutional investors are forced to play the game to maintain the appearance of a fair market, it was only a matter of time before this huge pyramid, this machinist scheme, was exposed. When all major institutional investors are forced to play the game to maintain the appearance of a fair market, it was only a matter of time before this massive pyramid, machinated scheme was exposed. What was not fully known is that the creators of the current global economic and financial system knew that this would happen, that the cracks in the pyramid would become too big to hide. The internal affairs of many countries are also in a state of constant disorder, caused by deliberate intent. Just as the First World War served as a pretext for the formation of leagues, and the Second World War served as a stimulant for the organization of the United Nations, the Third World War will be used as a justification for a unified world government. In essence, it will represent a world legal system, a PD guide, an electronic concentration camp, and a digital currency. But they have another problem. The Internet now knows the truth. It broadcasts 24/7, unprecedented information about the truth, about those who ruthlessly controlled all planetary civilization. And now the whole world knows, whether exploring the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers in the World Wide Web. The same search results reveal that these banksters finally fell into the web of their deceit and lies. Most people do not know that these two banking families are merely a facade for numerous Illuminati families that have acted in secret since black aristocracy became renowned. As a historical fact, the real perpetrators of world wars and the Great Depression have been exposed like never before. Therefore, the criminals of the New World Order are caught between a rock and a hard place, with no room for maneuver. So this time nothing will save them, except they think the beginning of the Third World War. Therefore, the criminals of the New World Order find themselves caught between the hammer and navalny, having no slightest room for maneuver. So this time nothing will save them, except what they think is the beginning of the Third World War. The deep state also greatly fears a partnership for peace between the USA and Russia. It feared a natural alliance between Russia and Germany, as such powerful geopolitical relations would truly threaten Anglo-American dominance in the world. Two world wars were designed to pit Russia against Germany and prevent the formation of such a bloc, manipulating the government in Germany, as well as all European unions. And if we are talking about the First, Second, and the upcoming Third World War, it is important to clearly and distinctly realize that these wars were originally planned and initiated by the secret world, government, or international mafia at the end of the 19th century, which even in those times, as well as before, consciously sought to destroy as many people all over the world as possible, including through a series of well-prepared global bloodshed wars, helping to enthrone selected monarchs and kings backed by the global elite behind the scenes in various countries. The godfathers of the international mafia demanded that newly appointed leaders of various countries carry out all their bloody plans over the controlled population. In March 1891, this society falls under the leadership of Lord Milner, Who manages it in the interests of the Rothschilds? Lord Milner forms a group of like-minded individuals, becoming the most important instrument of backstage political control over the world. This group included not only Englishmen, but also representatives from the USA, Canada, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and Germany. In this group there were not only English people, but also representatives from the USA, Canada, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and Germany. A significant portion of these individuals, like Milner himself, were Freemasons. The propaganda of the necessity of a single world government and the creation of a global government was introduced. The society exerted a strong influence on the policies of the governments of England and the countries of the Allies during the First World War. Already at this stage, secret Masonic organizations began constructing a system of universal control over the key spheres of society's activities. They aimed to replace the spiritual values of Christianity with entirely different foreign rituals, initially through the press, literature, and arts, and later also the main political institutions, fell under the influence of subversive satanic forces of global Freemasonry. However, up until the beginning of the 20th century, many plans of Masonic conspirators were thwarted due to the existence of great monarchies. The Russian, German, and Austro-Hungarian monarchies, up until 1914, served as a guarantee of Christian development and stability in Europe and the world as a whole. By inciting war between them, Masonic conspirators plunged humanity into a global massacre, which marked the beginning of the end of Christian civilization in Europe. The ruling elites of the USA and Britain, who significantly aided in bolstering Hitler's authority and strengthening Germany's economic power in general, in order to then utilize the full might of this country for the mass extermination of the population of Europe and the USSR. Friends, as we understand, a perfectly clear and distinct picture of what is happening is coming together. For many years, global clans, the elite global government, have been preparing for this transition in order to establish their rule and dictatorship over the entire earth. And as is known, their main strategy is to create a problem and then propose a solution. As it is known, their main strategy is to create a problem and then offer a solution. But in order for their power to become absolute, it is necessary to trigger a global trigger. Friends, write in the comments what you think about this. Also, give a thumbs up if you liked the video and share it with like-minded people. It would not hurt to subscribe to our channel and other platforms, because YouTube could be blocked at any time. You will find all the links to them in the pinned comment under the video. That's all for now. Bye.